He's a great kid.
By all accounts, Michael Lyons is a model student.
You tell Michael something once, you don't have to worry about it again.
The quiet senior sets goals and stays focused.
I work a lot. I work 24/7.
But the 18-year-old's passion is split between the classroom and gridiron.
Let's set it up. Straight away.
Kicking, it's everything.
The senior loves booting the ball. Field goals are his specialty.
Good job. Right down the middle, Mike.
He kicks them consistently
Good job.
and constantly. Michael isn't on the football team, but that isn't stopping him from competing.
He's a go-getter. He knows what he wants, and he works for it.
I'm looking for my foot to hit this spot right here.
Priority Car Dealership offers a student a $5,000 scholarship and a laptop if they can kick a ball through the uprights and land it securely into the bed of a pickup.
That has never happened before.
But the determined senior wanted to be the first. He hounded Matoaka's athletic director, Larry Stewart, for his one shot.
He came by my office every day and said, am I going to kick? Am I going to kick? And I said, Michael, you know what? You're going to kick.
Stewart and many others didn't hold out much hope, but they wanted to support Michael in his bid.
His persistence won me over.
So Michael practiced and practiced.
Right down the middle. That's right in the truck.
Yes, sir. I dream about it every day.
Let's do this thing, Mike.
8 weeks later, on a cold October 24th, the moment of truth.
Just it right now.
Before a crowd of thousands, the young man would line up for the kick of his life.
Were you nervous walking up to the football?
I was really nervous. Felt my legs were going to give out.
His thoughts were on the one person who wasn't there.
Very tough.
Michael's beloved mother passed away when he was 8.
I was thinking about her and the kick at the same time.
Let's get it adjusted right. Yes, right.
With pressure mounting and nerves fraying,
I was nervous. We all were nervous.
Michael would let it fly.
Michael kicked it, and it was like predestined.
No one at the school could believe it except the kicker himself.
It went in, and it just stuck.
The ball would land in the truck.
I was like, uh-oh, 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 oh! I was so excited.
What makes his kick that much more satisfying?
My right leg's shorter than my left.
Yes, the young man who can kick a ball a country mile with precision does it while living with cerebral palsy.
Good job. I can't think of anything else that has brought me more joy.
Michael learned from an early age anything is possible.
I'm not going to let anything get in my way. I conquer everything.
The college-bound senior hopes his remarkable kick serves as an inspiration for those who think they can't.
No matter what, stand up for yourself and keep trying. And look at me now. I kicked a ball into a truck.
Michael Lyons, a young man who vows never to let his disabilities prevent him from accomplishing
Oh, it feels good.
many more remarkable
Feels really good.
feats.
Good job today.
Thank you.
How many was that in a row?
12 or 13.
Did you get a little tight at the end?
Not really.
The shortstop, every limit.
Program for you?
Most students of America's pastime, and even casual fans alike, know the game's greats. From Ruth and Aaron to Ripken and Robinson. But how about Dandridge?
Dandridge?
I couldn't pick what team he played for.
I can't place him though.
None of us really know about him.
Ray Dandridge.
Was a player considered by some to be one of the best third basemen ever.
Wow.
And who was born right here in Richmond.
I think that's pretty amazing.
Who was this virtual unknown? To find the answer, one must travel to the streets of Church Hill. Born in 1913, Dandridge flashed signs of brilliance playing in the cornfields in the East End.
He was quick.
Drawing the attention of scouts.
Just a wonderful, wonderful ball player.
Dandridge dreamed of playing in the big leagues despite his diminutive 5'7" frame.
He played it like a cat, pouncing on balls and throwing runners out at first base with ease.
But at the time, baseball was divided by skin color.
Fans were robbed of seeing these great ball players in their prime.
Dr. Larry Hogan, author of Shades of Glory and one of the country's preeminent experts on the Negro Leagues.
That's what American racism did.
Dandridge would excel for the all-black Detroit Stars and Newark Eagles in the 1930s. Later, he would go on to generate fame and a little fortune south of the border, where Dandridge would enthrall crowds with his stellar play in the Mexican League.
I say at least 10 years for me. I left one league, went to the other league.
In this rare interview from the 1980s,
after I leave Mexico, I used to go back to Cuba.
Dandridge recounts how he found happiness and equality in Latin America.
All my expenses paid, and my wife, my kids, transportation, everything was paid, and my money was clear there.
But Dandridge never lost his burning desire to play in the bigs.
I believe in my heart that he was the greatest third baseman.
Louise Dandridge, who lives in Newark, says her grandfather,
I miss him quite a bit,
lived for baseball.
You know, you felt proud. You know, they say his name, Dandy Dandridge, and you're like, yeah, I'm a Dandridge.
Robinson coming up.
With Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier in 1947, Dandridge thought his time to shine had finally arrived.
As he used to say, I would like a cup of coffee in the majors.
But the call-up to the parent club never came.
Real loss on the part of baseball.
Eventually, time would run out. Dandridge would leave baseball, never reaching his ultimate goal.
But it was tragic that he didn't get his shot in the majors.
But Dr. Larry Hogan says his friend refused to carry a grudge.
But he never let that embitter him. He never let that get in the way of enjoying the baseball that he played and loving the baseball that he played.
With his playing days behind him, Dandridge would return to Newark, working for the city's rec department.
Everyone loved him.
34 years after hanging up his cleats, Dandridge's phone would ring. It was a call he never anticipated.
All of a sudden, he said, your life has changed. I said, what do you mean my life has changed? You know how it is, sometimes you get some of them crank calls, you know.
In July of 1987, Raymond Emmett Dandridge would be inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame.
We're standing in front of Ray Dandridge's plaque.
The Hall of Fame's Bill Francis.
Babe Ruth, Ty Cobb, Jackie Robinson, Nolan Ryan, Joe DiMaggio, Mickey Mantle, and Ray Dandridge is right amongst them.
With his induction, Dandridge would become the only Richmonder ever to reach this hallowed shrine.
We all know that's the penultimate moment. Virginia and its history needs to embrace a person of this sort.
Yes, it does.
Louise Dandridge.
It takes me back to that day.
Was sitting in the crowd that warm summer afternoon in Cooperstown 27 years ago.
It makes me feel great. It makes me feel honored.
She and her family watched as her grandfather beamed on stage.
Boy, oh boy. It's a long time to be waiting.
Relishing the moment when the third baseman finally realized he made it home.
I love the game of baseball. Now today, look like baseball loved me.
Hi, what can I get for y'all?
It's a deep love affair.
You don't see this every day.
That stretches back centuries.
Thank you.
Which may explain why Richmonders
It's so good.
will brave bone-chilling temperatures
All right, what can I get for you?
to savor ice-cold beer.
This is the Apocalypse Ale.
The craft beer industry in Virginia is bubbling over.
There's character in this beer.
Home to 90 licensed breweries,
Legend Devil's Backbone,
a dozen in the River City alone.
Ardent Hardywood.
And that number is growing.
There's more. I'm missing like half a dozen.
Richmond is bellying up to the bar.
It's a true destination.
Taking its place alongside established and respected craft beer beacons like Asheville and Denver.
So it's kind of a good starter beer, apparently, which is great for me.
It's growing by the minute.
At the new Ardent Craft Ales in Scott's Edition, founder Tom Sullivan says his customers are developing a refined taste.
I think there's just been a return to craft-made, handmade things. People are excited to know that the beer they're drinking is made right down the street.
7 stories high, rising up behind me. It must have just been an awesome sight.
Did you want another?
Historian Mike Gorman leads visitors on tours of Richmond's booming beer scene, past and present.
Getting people excited about the city itself. And I think that's all things we can point to as an upward trend.
The River City's reputation as a serious town for suds is gaining momentum. Stone Brewing Company is building a massive East Coast distribution center along the James River, creating nearly 300 jobs. Attracted by generous city and state incentives, the San Diego-based craft beer behemoth will add to the city's hopping landscape.
Cheers.
But the relationship between brewers and city and civic leaders hasn't always been this cozy in the Commonwealth.
Beer has been part of the Richmond social fabric since there's even before been a Richmond.
Journalist Harry Kolatch Jr. says in the early 1900s, the city's thirst for beer could not be quenched. 3 local and 3 national breweries hummed.
It was huge business.
Churning out barrel after barrel.
One of the articles that I've read said there were 2 or 3 saloons on every city block along Main Street.
The ever-present beer coupled with hard liquor made the city a lively place. A little too lively for some.
Richmond, in the early part of the 20th century, was a city of 200 saloons and 200 churches.
You can definitely see the dark clouds on the horizon for Richmond's drinking culture.
Groups such as the Anti-Saloon League and Women's Christian Temperance Union wanted to stop the flow.
Yes, it could get really raucous.
Arguing that demon alcohol was the root of all social evils, ruining homes, families, and fortunes.
So you've got people really trying to figure out how to control behavior.
Their spirited anti-alcohol argument gained traction.
It was a huge social issue.
Brewers, tavern owners, and drinkers weren't turning the tap off without a fight.
It's easy to understand how within cities there was dramatic opposition to prohibition.
Then in 1914, after long, heated debates, the question boiled down to what voters wanted: go dry or stay wet. By a substantial 2-to-1 margin, prohibition passed.
Virginia was 2 years ahead of the rest of the country, voted to go dry.
November 1st, 1916 was the day of reckoning.
When midnight hit, church bells rang, and that was it. It was all over.
It was a huge decision.
The Library of Virginia's Greg Kimball says prohibition crippled lucrative industries across the Commonwealth.
Well, obviously, it just completely took out some of the major businesses, the breweries, the distilleries.
And think about all the tax revenue. Think about all the jobs. Just disappeared.
People still thirsting for alcohol were forced to go underground, giving rise to gangs and criminal enterprises like smuggling spirits.
Many, many gallons of it were hoarded away in basements for private parties.
But with the country in the throes of the Great Depression, the pendulum would swing the other way. Americans demanded access to alcohol legally. With the national repeal of Prohibition in 1933, 17 long years after voting to go dry, beer started flowing again through Richmond.
History goes in cycles.
Breweries and bars would throw their doors open, but brewing would not reach the same fevered pitch till recently.
It really speaks to the shortness of what can happen in 100 years.
In 2012, a change in state laws loosened the reins, allowing entrepreneurs to brew and sell their liquid goods on site to beer aficionados and novices alike.
I think it's coming back in a way. You had your neighborhood saloon, now you have almost your local brewer.
We'll never go thirsty here in Richmond, no.
Lee Graves, author of Richmond Beer, says the craft beer revolution is fueling the economy and showing no signs of slowing down.
These small breweries are creating jobs, they're creating revenue streams, they're paying taxes, they're paying utility bills.
Did you want another?
At Legend Brew Pub in Manchester. Vice President Dave Grott takes great pride knowing he helped pave the way.
We are the oldest operating microbrewery in Virginia.
He welcomes more craft competition into the fold.
It's a friendly group. We get along. We all like each other.
Dave and his fellow brewers are creating blue ribbon beers while keeping Virginia in the black. The economic impact of Virginia's beer industry is a stout $660 million annually, pushing prohibition further and further in the rearview mirror. But signs of that dark drain chapter remain in Richmond. In the middle of Bird Park, you'll find a fountain championing the anti-alcohol crusade.
It really lends a kind of a colorful twist to it all.
Brewer Dave Grott says perhaps it's only fitting that while a river of beer flows across Virginia, at this particular fountain, you won't find one single drop of water.
The temperance movement was big here. We got a monument to it. It's good that people don't forget. Maybe it's good that monument's up. And maybe it's good it's running dry to remind us.